Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today for this exclusive Tech Talk event, Deploying iFIX and Proficy Historian in a Secure, High Availability Architecture. We're looking forward to our event today. My name is Rachel D'Ambrose. I'm your Tech Talk host as well as your sommelier for the event. We're going to get started in just a couple of minutes with our speakers, but before we do so, I just wanted to give you a brief overview of the audience console in front of you. You'll see a Q&A widget on the left-hand side. We definitely would like to encourage questions throughout our presentation, so if you have any questions at all, you can type them in there via chat, and we will get to them either at the end during the Q&A, or someone will reach out to you after our event today with a response. On the right-hand side of your console, you're going to see a speaker bio section. So that's where you can read a bit more about our speakers that are presenting today, who you're going to meet in just a couple of seconds. The slides will be displayed there in the center. If they disappear, they live at the bottom at the docs. You can go ahead and maximize those there. If for any reason at all today you have issues with audio or playback, try refreshing the page, and that usually will do the trick. We're going to have a fun wine tasting at the end of our event today. So if you've received your wine already and you want to go ahead and pour yourself a glass, we're going to go ahead and taste through it. And if you haven't received that wine, maybe you registered later, crack anything open. I'm here to take questions about your holiday meals and wine pairings, any questions you might have at all about wine at the end of our event today. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Robert Landick, Vice President with CB Pacific. Robert, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. Appreciate that. I'd like to start out by introducing the team that we have presenting today. As Rachel said, my name is Robert Landick, and I've had the pleasure of working with many of the GE Digital customers on the West Coast over the last 25 years. And for those of you on from the West Coast, I'm sure you know most of my technical and commercial teammates from CB that support you on the GE products every day. Also like to introduce Ranbir Saini, who's currently leading a coordinated rollout of GE Digital's Proficy products, and I think that you will see that the effort of his team has resulted in some of the biggest improvements in iFIX and Historian that I've seen in a while. Also happy to introduce Steve Zamaki. Steve's a recent addition to the AutomaTech team on the East Coast. Steve has a long history in industrial software. I'm sure many of you have talked to him over the years. I'm glad he brings that experience to our collective group, and Steve recently joined as the Vice President and General Manager of the AutomaTech organization. So great group. Collectively, I think I added up, we have over 65 years of experience with industrial software. So we're really glad to bring that experience to the group today. I'd like to go over the agenda for today a bit. Steve's going to give you a brief update on CB and AutomaTech. Then Ranbir is going to take a look at the latest iFIX and Historian product releases and show you some of the new tools for rapid deployment and interoperability. Following that, Steve and I'll be looking at some opportunities to help you increase the reliability and security of your valuable OT systems. We'll follow that with some Q&A, and then we'll get on with the wine tasting with Rachel. So Steve, fire away.
You bet. Thanks, Robert, and definitely appreciate it. So I'm going to spend about just probably 2 to 3 minutes about us, and this will be the commercial part of the discussion. So over on the left-hand side, I just wanted to highlight across multiple industries, AutomaTech and CB together, along with our partner, General Electric and GE Digital, we solve tough problems for customers. And whether it's in the realm of throughput, yield, quality, regulatory compliance, costs, time to market, OT security, that's what we do every day, all the time. And, multiple industries have different KPIs and to measure those tough problems on the left. But I can tell you we've got a vast amount of experience. We've got some great application domain experience and product knowledge. And over on the right-hand side of the screen, instead of us showing you the typical logo slide of how many great customers we have, we thought we'd make it a little bit more personable and just talk about what we have done, right? So if you drove to work, used a computer, drank a glass of water, coffee, cranberries, used something plastic, had a COVID-19 vaccine, perfume, cola, visit a hospital, ate a chocolate bar, turned a light switch on, then you benefited most likely from a CB and AutomaTech solution. And so that's important to us because we want to reach out and have a positive impact to our employees, our customers, and the communities that we thrive in collectively. And so we want to do that every time, all the time. So what is it that we do? So I'm not going to go into all of these, but at the end of the day, we are experts at controls and SCADA systems and automation, MES systems, industrial IoT systems, cloud-based hybrid systems, high availability network systems, and OT and cyber security systems. So simply stated, we connect, we control, we visualize, analyze, and optimize systems with and for our customers. And we do that in a very partner-friendly way with a number of systems integrators out there. And part of our job is to connect customers with systems integrators with our solutions that we promote in the marketplace. So, our partner ecosystem is a big, big part of who CB and AutomaTech is, and we look forward to working with all of you going forward. How we support our customers? So CB and AutomaTech, we're part of a national organization that is called the Flow Control Group, and basically the Flow Control Group is part of a $665 billion organization that's called KKR, so one of the third largest private equity groups out there. We've had a phenomenal relationship with General Electric and GE Digital over the last 25 years, way back into the Intellution days. And one of the things that we provide is training services. We have solution architects. We have engineering support teams that help customers, that help our SPs work on projects and solve problems together. So if you need help, you need assistance, we are here with a bigger footprint than ever to help support you. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to my friend Rambir, and he's going to talk about iFIX and Historian. So Rambir, it's all yours.
Great, thanks so much, Steve. Well, let's get started. So before I get started into the details here, just had to quickly show this safe harbor disclaimer here. So the key things here, I will be talking a bit about future roadmap and strategy, which is subject to change, as also, so, generally directly, that's where we're going to go, but there could be subject to change some of the material. All right, so let's get right into it. So first off, I want to start off by talking about what we're doing at the end of this year, beginning of next year with January releases across the Proficy suite. So one of the key things we heard from you as our customers was how to make it easier to be able to consume the portfolio of products that actually create the Proficy suite. And so as we're doing that, what we're doing moving forward now is we're having a yearly release cadence across the portfolio. And so this year it will be called the 2022 release. Will be coming in January. And you can see there's a bunch of products here, including Operations Hub, Historian, and iFIX. The other key part of this is that, as we do this, so it's to allow you to ensure that we have really good interoperability testing to make it easy to work across the different tools and products and just have that common experience across them as well. Well, as we get into what we're doing in iFIX and Historian, I just want to start by first kind of prefacing by what we have been doing and continue to do in regards to iFIX and Historian. So, we have the core HMI SCADA capabilities, but we have a lot of complementary capabilities that come with iFIX, which is a part of the entire solution. That's everything from reporting with Dream Report to remote access via web space. I'll talk a bit more about Operations Hub as our web-based next-gen HMI builder and IoT builder for rapid application development. course G historian and workflow for work process management. Other things that, actually one I realized I missed off here was even like analytics. We have a Proficy analytics suite of products, including CSense and cloud capabilities with operations analytics to allow you to be able to leverage the data that you would get from historian and or Scada to optimize your process and improve your overall performance. So how are we taking that forward? So, if you think about HMI Scada, a lot of times people think of that in the context of a single server and multiple clients, but really our focus moving forward is being able to scale the solution for you in a way, because most of our customers will have multiple servers, if that's a redundant pair or way more than redundant pair, right? Depending on the customer, it could be multiple sites. It could be a single site with multiple servers. We have customers with up to like 60 servers in a single plant. And so what that really requires is thinking about the whole solution holistically and thinking about enterprise and across the entire enterprise, how to help you be able to centrally manage that. So that's a key theme of ours moving forward in the next several years of development, really to help you reduce costs by doing that. The other is providing accessibility to the data and information for everybody across the enterprise. So not just within the controlled network, but also like from a Purdue model perspective, level 1, 2, 3, and 4. The other key thing where we've seen a lot of requests, especially as COVID has come and the way we work is changing, is customers starting to look at how to leverage the cloud and really making the cloud an extension of their on-premise network as a way to reduce cost. And so another key theme of ours is to provide the modularity to you. So if you want to be all on-premise, that's totally fine. But also if you want to do hybrid cloud or totally cloud, we will support that too in the near future. And then one other thing I will mention about is the other key part is as we do that, and we provide that connectivity on-premise to the cloud, is ensuring security along the way. So how are we delivering on that strategy? And what we have been doing for the last several years, it's focused on these 4 key themes. Number 1 is core Scada, as I mentioned, all about providing a high-scale Scada solution. So really thinking about how can we help you reduce the cost of infrastructure for the servers, being able to do more on a single server, being able to have greater performance and accessibility to data. The number 2 is all about rapid application development and adding more ways for you to be able to visualize the data and be able to actually collaborate together and really reducing the time to build those types of applications and screens across OT and IT systems. Number 3 is, as I mentioned, is all about that central management. Here we're focused on how do we increase the productivity of the OT and IT staff who are managing these systems and the integrators who are helping building these systems. And then lastly, really focused on empowering the connected worker. And what we really are talking about here is, the workers now are not just working within the plant, they're working outside the plant. The expectation of the interfaces and connectivity is now to not just be on a tablet or a desktop, but also to be on your phone or even a watch. And so providing that type of accessibility to the information and providing the collaboration and providing those higher level views that gives you a view of the entire enterprise in situations like central operations or remote operations. So how are we delivering that? I want to talk a little bit more about what we actually have delivered this year and what we delivered over the past several years. And so this slide, I won't go into all the details, but this gives you a list of information which you can look at offline as well, of capabilities we delivered over the past 3 years, including on the high-scale Scada side is standardization of technology stacks for access to data, such as OPCUA, standardizing on things like 18.2 alarming, doing things to increase scale, such as number of tags we support for certain data type, and continue to do things from security. And I'll talk more about that in further slides as well, but that is a key aspect as well, as how do we continue to provide ways to actually secure your system further and further as technology changes. Secondly, when it comes to overall rapid application development, we're doing a lot of things in core workspace of iClient, including having now a HTML version of WebSpace, having new high-performance dynamos and displays. And the other key thing is adding Operations Hub as another option for you for a client, which I'll talk more about. On central management, I'll talk more about this as well, but some of the key things here are such as like modeling, a web-based configuration, providing a common authentication, common installers, and then on central remote ops, as I mentioned, key constructs are here, out-of-box applications, providing things such as cloud support. All right, so let's get into the details. So one of the key things that we are doing, which we delivered in the 2022 releases in January, is we heard from you is one of the key things that you want to do to ensure security and safety and scaling in a different manner is you want to be able to easily scale updates of your systems and installs. And so we've actually spent a lot of time focused on how do we reduce the time it takes you and the amount of downtime to update your systems. And we've dramatically reduced that with iFIX Historian with this integrated Proficy installer. And over time, this will actually include the entire portfolio suite for Proficy, but we're starting with iFIX and Historian. And so, this really helps with that deployment and update scenarios. All right, and number 2 is coming back to the central management. We started this journey with iFIX 6.5 with one of the new tools within the portfolio that comes with iFIX and Historian called Configuration Hub. And the key thing with Configuration Hub, it's a web-based integrated development environment that we will be moving all the configuration into over time to enable you to be able to have one central place to collaborate and build and deploy and configure your solutions. And so, we're really excited about this because this will really make it easier for you to do that and do it in a manner that is ideal for you to collaborate, but also to configure the interface the way you would want as well. And we will continue this journey in follow-up releases. And another key part of that integration with Configuration Hub and what we have released with 6.5 and moving forward is modeling. And the reason for modeling, having that with iFIX, again, comes to how do you scale when you have a lot of pieces of equipment? You have a lot of different plans. You want to be able to have consistency across the configuration of those different pieces of equipment and processes. You want to be able to scale that by defining that equipment once and then be able to use it across the enterprise. You also want to be able to leverage the actual data and the structure coming from the PLCs and be able to bring that into iFIX seamlessly and auto-generate tags to be able to build out your Scada solutions. Another key part as a part of that journey of that entire integration is really focused on how do we make it easier for you to have security in regards to managing your users and leveraging your authentication systems, for example, like Active Directory, and providing users also with a single sign-on across products. And so, this what you can see here is as I talk about Configuration Hub, I talk about our modeling capabilities, the installer, as well as its authentication. By having all of the products come together this way, it really makes it easier for you to be able to manage the solution across iFIX, Historian, and the rest of the tool set. But also, if you have any challenges, they're much easier to manage and diagnose because everything is coming from one single solution. So when it comes to scale, another key part is Historian. I'm sure you all know this because if you want to be able to optimize and be able to do analysis of what's happening and look back at what is happening if there was an abnormal situation, a key piece of that is Historian. And what we're seeing more and more as time goes by, with the data being produced by PLCs, adding more sensors, being able to store that data efficiently is a critical thing because if you can't do it efficiently, you start adding up costs for infrastructure and managing that infrastructure and the failure of that infrastructure. And so that's been one of our key focus with Historian, which is why we've asked you with the 2022 release, we have increased the efficiency of storage by 33 times. The other part is that we continue to look at how to let you be able to get the data from the control system into Historian as efficiently and quickly as possible. So we actually increase the performance of the iFIX collector with Historian by 50%. And some of these things we're proud to say, especially with the efficiency of storage, we are best in class when it comes to storage of that data for you. And so another key part of that Historian and that scalability is really thinking about how do you scale from a single control network within a single plant, or even it could be at like a line level, all the way up to the enterprise. And so there's a lot of busyness on the screen, but if we start on the left-hand side, the key part is with Historian, you're able to now aggregate the data and provide that visibility of that data for analysis for operators and plant engineers in real time, near real time within the control network. At the same time, you want to provide that to, for example, a maintenance engineer in this green picture to be able to look across the different historians and across the enterprise to do things like optimized maintenance, for example. And also for other leaders within the organization, such as plant managers or line supervisors. But coming back to also the idea of having optimal storage and efficiencies, we also are supporting hybrid modes here. And so you can think of, you have your data that you want to use, which might be like the last 3 months or 6 months, which you want in Historian. But then there's data you want to have as cold storage historically for things like auditing or for any type of situation where you want to look at really long-term data storage. And so we also do support with Historian the ability to be able to push data to cloud storage and be able to have that the cold storage capabilities. And the other key part of that is by doing this, we enable you to gain leverage analytics. And so you can do that in real time with technologies such as eSense from the Proficy suite, but you can also do it with our analytics hub, which is within the cloud, and leverage data scientists to be able to do things at scale with performance when you have large sets of data. And I also want to talk a little bit more about security. So this is critical. This is something that we always have top of mind with every single release we do. One of the key things to note here is to ensure that we are doing robust security testing. We have a very strict process in that our security vulnerabilities and security assessment is done by an independent internal team within GE. So it's not done by the software development team. It's an independent team to ensure that they are really looking at critically at the solution and the technology to ensure that there is no security issues. We continue to do things like provide a secure deployment guides to help you be able to configure your systems in a secure manager, following standards such as IEC 27001. Also looking at technologies such as OPC-UA to again provide that secure connectivity and configuration. And so this is really critical to you as our customers and to us as well, to ensure that as you have these mission critical systems for our customers, you are confident in the security of being able to deliver for them. So that's from the scalability data perspective. I did also want to talk about the visualization perspective as well, with the other half of an HMI Scada, the HMI side. And so as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we provide multiple different ways for you to be able to visualize the data and provide accessibility to your users. And our strategy here is we want to be able to ensure that your investment and your development continues to be supported with our thick clients such as iClient, but we also allow you to be able to extend that to new technologies and new ways to access data with solutions such as Operations Hub and WebSpace, which give you now web-based access, give you new types of tools that are all web-based, responsive design, and also technologies such as terminal services. And so what you see here is you really have now a combination of different technologies, and they work together. So you can, for example, use this is a little bit complicated as I say this, but I'll talk more about it as we go further along. But the idea is that you can combine Operations Hub with actual views of native screens coming from the thick client in one mashup interface to provide you visibility within the control network and outside the control room network. So another key part of this is providing tools to build those high performance graphics and standards to do that. And we're doing that across both the iClient with the new sample high performance displays and demo systems, but also new dynamos and tools to help you build those. The other key part of high performance to provide that consistency is, as I mentioned earlier, is providing modeling capabilities. So you're able to now define those screens and dynamically change which piece of equipment or what piece of data you're looking at, but have a standard standardized way of being able to see that information. And so like that's really critical. And while also doing this with Operations Hub, really thinking about how do we provide ways for you to be able to be guided in how to create more optimal interfaces to make information much more digestible for your plant personnel. So I talked about Operations Hub a little bit along the way, and so let me get into what it really is. And so Operations Hub, as I mentioned, is our IoT visualization platform. Over time, we'll be adding more and more HMI capabilities. I'll go into more details of everything that's in the release coming at the end of the year. But one of the key things I want to talk about here is what the vision is for Operations Hub. Our goal is we want to provide Operations Hub as a way for you to be able to aggregate data optimally for not just Proficy products, but also from other OT systems as well as IT systems. And doing that using standard-based communication, so OPC-UA, MQTT, REST, and SQL. The other key value prop of this is doing this in a way that is drag and drop, WYSIWYG, not requiring programmatic skills. And so really, making this a low-code, no-code development environment. And lastly, building those products, those applications in a manner that allows you to be able to, as you build those screens, define how they would look not just on a desktop, but on a tablet, on a phone. And so really having that aspect of responsive types of applications and allowing focus applications per user and with authorization so that you can say, this is really catering to an operator. This is really catering to our GM for more KPI type views. And there will be definitely a lot more details to come in a January seminar that AutomaTech and GE will be hosting in CE Pacific. So what is coming in the 2022 release? Some of the key things we are providing here is a lot of UI components, or what we call widgets, to build these types of displays and dashboards. The other key part is across the Proficy suite, which I'll talk about here in the next slide, is providing support for both Azure and AWS VMs. Then that includes iFIX, Historian, Operations Hub, and also providing ability to do things like OPC-UA reads and writes. And so you can use Operations Hub and have the ability to write back into a control system, for example. The two key areas we really are focusing on the 2022 release is historical analysis. So as a part of Operations Hub, you would get an out-of-the-box historian analysis application that lets you do advanced trending, be able to do comparisons, be able to really dig in and see what's happening with your historical data and do analysis to figure out what's going on within your plant, or be able to do optimization. On the HMI side, our focus in the near term for the 2022 release has really been about complementary HMI dashboards. So not about replacing iClient and for operator execution, but more about creating those views outside the control network where you want to give access, for example, to process engineers, maintenance engineers, plant managers, and so forth. And so that's been really our focus for this release. And then following releases coming in the following next year and further, we'll be doing more HMI capabilities for within the control network as well. So, I've talked a little bit about this. I want to go into a little bit more details about the idea of cloud and hybrid cloud solutions. And again, I think this resonates probably with a lot of folks when it comes to situations you've come into now with COVID and, having people more distant, having people that might not be within the plant and providing them accessibility. At the same time, you want to be able to provide accessibility in a manner you can aggregate the data across your entire enterprise, if that's a single plant with multiple Scadas, or it's multiple plants with multiple Scadas. And so we have some great use cases of customers we've worked with. We've really focused on this ability to be able to aggregate the data, have an enterprise historian with like 100 million plus tags, and have an Operations Hub to be the visualization layer and provide those higher level views. And this could be, for example, for a central operations control room. And the idea is then you create real optimal views that give you a high-level understanding of what's happening within your enterprise. But then using technology such as web space, you can be able to then, when you see an issue, drill in, use web-based connectivity into the platform to see exactly what the operator is seeing, if, for example, like an abnormal situation happens. And as we do all this, again, one of the key things we always think about is making that access to those screens outside the control network and within those central operations being highly secure and highly authorized based on the user and what they're able to do. So before I hand it off to Steve, I also wanted to mention, we're doing a lot of great things here. We have actually, I'm really excited that we've actually increased investment over the last several years, specifically in iFIX and Historian. We are increasing investment, and so this is really a key area for us within GE and for our customers, and that's recognized by GE as an organization. And as a part of that, as we increase the investment and we do our development, it's really critical to us that we are really delivering on our customers' key problems that they want to solve. And so as a part of that, one thing we've introduced working with AutomaTech and CB is an Innovation Partners program. And the idea here is we want to talk to our customers and we want to be able to work with you for those key initiatives, strategic initiatives you have that we have that align in a really close manner in our entire development process to really make sure that we're hitting the mark with the solutions we're delivering. And so reach out to all of us if you have any interest in learning more about this program, and we'd be happy to talk and discuss it further as well. And with that, I will now hand it over to Steve.
Sounds great. Thanks, Ranbir. Nice job. So I'm going to cover just a couple of things on high availability, and there's probably going to be about 3 slides, then Robert's going to have a couple slides on security. So when we think about high availability for Scada, we have customers and we have systems integrators out there that deploy systems where 0 downtime has to be adhered to, meaning you don't get the option to turn things off and upgrade patches and do things, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to have a couple of slides here, and this came from one of our really, really awesome partners, Stratus, that just talks about high availability. And I wanted to educate a little bit on the differences between virtualization, high availability clustering, a standalone server, and really, a Stratus FT server. So in just kind of making it simple for all of us, you've got the norm, which is virtualization, where you're going to be running your VMs out there, whether it's Hyper-V or VMware, et cetera. Then you're going to get into, running Windows Server, which allows some failover, scripts that have to be developed in order for things to happen. And then you're going to have standalone servers, which gets into a better degree. And then really the best that we see to eliminate, potential hardware failure and downtime is really going to a Stratus system, which, Stratus delivers high availability out of the box. What we love about it, there's no custom software, there's no scripting. It truly prevents things from going bad. And if there is a hardware failure, typically the system is going to automatically notify the manufacturer, in this case Stratus. They're going to ship out a new component for you that will be hot swappable. So your system's going to be running, you're going to put in the new component, and it's going to run. It is gorgeous as a solution for those that don't have big IT departments. So, outside of the Fortune 100 customer base out there, we see this type of solution. A lot of companies are benefiting from it because it's simple, it's easy, and it just works. So if you are looking for high availability solutions, check this stuff out. It does work. It's pretty powerful. So the industries where we see high availability happening: oil and gas, food and bev, water and wastewater, transportation. When you think about big municipalities like New York DEP, WMATA, other big, transportation systems that cannot go down, this is where we see it just really working on in a well-orchestrated way. Again, Scada, supply chain management, MES, asset performance management, these types of solutions will absolutely take advantage of a high availability solution. Earlier, Ranbir talked about the Purdue model and levels 0 through 5. This just gives you an idea of scalable solutions from your sensor and your field-based equipment that is going to be out there, all the way through your batch single Scada servers to multiple lines, multiple Scadas, systems that are out there in terms of servers, multiple historian, all the way up into running your level 4 and level 5 type systems. So again, price, performance, security, development, availability. We think there's some really good solutions that you want to look at. As you get into high availability, as you get into looking at what type of security, if you guys need assistance out there, don't be afraid to call us. Between CB and AutomaTech, we've got some really, really smart people out there that can walk you through. We'll come on site, we'll do an assessment for you, we'll work with you in designing solutions that fit you. There isn't one size fits all for all of this, because you've got size, complexity, network traffic that you're going to be looking at, the amounts of data you're going to be looking at. So we can demystify the complexity out there. So give us a call. Here to help. So one of the things I like about Stratus, and this is what our customers say, is over on the left-hand side, I think this slide really summarizes community support. And 197 billion gallons of water is being protected in a way with high availability solutions from Stratus. You think about 1.5 billion passengers. This is truly mission critical. So if you are faced with applications where high availability is what you need and you cannot afford to have downtime, this is what we like about Stratus. So if you haven't heard about Stratus, give us a call. Here to help and support. And with that, I'm going to turn it back out to my colleague and friend, Mr. Robert Landick.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate that. And I appreciate that friend comment, too. We've worked together for many years, and we have become good friends. Hey, I wanted to talk a little bit about cybersecurity in the OT space. And as you know, we at CB and AutomaTech have a long history in working with our customers on their control and Scada and manufacturing systems. We're getting approached more and more by our customers to help with technology advice on how to participate in our customers' cyber journeys. We see a lot of our customers start out with IT approaches to cyber, and many of them realize that it doesn't go far enough and it's not deep enough to protect the OT systems. We've seen IT solutions that have been applied to OT systems that have induced intolerable latency on the networks, which we can't have in real-time systems. And so those IT systems can cause more harm than good. And we've partnered with some of the leading OT security providers in the world and believe that our CB and AutomaTech teams are in a unique position to help all of you on the call today to help differentiate between IT and OT security approaches. So cyber is really a matter of balance. We've seen customers who've thrown money at it, buying technology with really no idea what problem they're trying to solve. So it really starts with a good assessment to determine where your security threats are. I'm sure you've all heard that there's no magic bullet, there's no one size fits-all solution that you can apply to give yourself 100% protection. And by going through the first step of doing a penetration testing and assessment, identifying the threat surfaces, I think you have a better chance at prioritizing where to focus your energy and your money. Without that assessment up front, you can spend a lot of time trying different solutions, take longer to get to the solution you're seeking, and eventually make the system so confusing that you can't manage it. So start with a good assessment, and we can help you with that. The other part that's kind of interesting is we run into a lot of customers who feel that cybersecurity is an event rather than a process. And we view it as a process. And starting from that initial assessment and understanding the prioritization, you can start to develop a strategy to defend and protect your system, develop alarming on the events that you want to alarm on, and enunciate those alarms, and then build in workflows for your operators and other folks to follow in case where you do have a cyber breakthrough. And then at the end of that, you have to evaluate, find the root cause of that breakthrough, and then start the process all over again. And that way you're continually hardening your systems. It's definitely not don't advise just implementing technology and walking away. That's not going to be a solution for the long term. So I suggest if you do have some interest in how we can help you with hardening your systems and increasing your cybersecurity, reach out to the CV or the AutomaTech resources, and we can bring in the appropriate resources to help you with those issues, and we'd love to help you. With that, we'll move to the Q&A portion of the meeting.
All right, great. Well, thanks so much, Robert, Ranbir, and Steve. We would love to open it up for questions from our audience. So if you have any questions about the presentation, please go ahead and send those in now. We have already received quite a bit of questions. So let me get started here. I think this question was directed towards Ranbir. Ranbir, is modeling your term for template?
So it's a great question. About that. I think I'll just put video on and take a second there. But yeah, so modeling and templates are somewhat similar, because if you think of templates, it's the ability to define something like an equipment. The reason why I said modeling is because we are using the OPC-UA constructs of modeling, so such as object types and objects. But of course, those models create templates of things such as equipment or processes that then you can visualize. And so yes, they are in ways synonymous, and they also are complementary as well.
All right, another question here. Does this include enterprise level web front end to view the data?
So that's also, I love that question. So coming back to the Operations Hub, that is a key goal, is to provide that enterprise level views. And so with the Operations Hub, it is completely web-based, both the designer as well as the runtime. We are currently working with some early customers who are adopters are trying to create those central operations type solutions for the enterprise and building out new visualization capabilities for that. Because one of the things we have learned as we started doing this was you don't want to have the same screens that you had within the Plan 4 when you have the enterprise level views. You need things that are higher level, because you can't look at like 50 different monitors to see what's happening across the enterprise. You want a more digestible way of visualizing the information. So that's one of our key focuses there.
Great. Another question here. Does the web configuration present a web API so that configuration can be scripted?
Yes. So as we're working with putting everything to Configuration Hub, the way we're connecting to the systems is via REST and REST APIs. And we will be exposing those REST APIs for you to be able to do silent configuration. And again, we do recognize the need to not just do silent configuration, but over time, also using that as a unified way to do things like silent installs and updates and so forth. And so that is a key part of that journey and strategy, is as we build out those new modern types of web-based interface configuration, is also to provide APIs for it.
Great. And another follow-up question, are there any moves to have applications operate in containers?
And so I believe this question is talking about native cloud containers, as such as Docker, I believe. And so please type in if it means something else. So yes, that is something we're looking in near and long term. For example, right now we're looking at providing native historian containerized in Linux support in the cloud, as well as on-premise. And in a more longer term, we're looking into doing things like that also in regards to our HMI Scadas as well. So if there's more specific use cases you're looking for, certain types of deployments, please reach out to myself and the CB and AutomaTech team, and we can discuss it further.
All right, another question here. Any login customization for users to have unique workspaces?
So I'm trying to, so I assume that you're talking about for the operator. So I'll answer this question in two ways. When it comes to what we're doing on the development side with Configuration Hub, the reason why I mentioned was like it's an integrated development environment, like a software development environment, is so that you will be able to create custom views and custom ways for you to do your work. Also, on the Operations Hub side, we really focused on providing ways for you to be able to use the same data and the same information visualized in different ways based on user. There's probably more we could do there to make it really customized in runtime by the user. And so I'd love to hear some more about what your specific use case there is, but also if it's on the development side and management side or on the runtime side, but we'd love to be able to hear more, and maybe there's more we can do there as well.
Great, and a couple more questions here. How difficult is it to upgrade from version iFIX 5.5 to the 2022 version?
That's a loaded question, but it's a good question. So, what I would say is like, reach out to us. Like I don't, it's hard for me to say relative to what is the deployment and configuration you have, which other tools you have beyond iFIX. Is it with Historian? Do you have CSense? Do you have workflow? But that's what, as Steve and Robert said, that's what us as a greater team here are for, is to help you with those types of upgrades. And so reach out to us, and we want to make sure that's as painless as possible. And that's what, like I mentioned, one of our key goals is really to make those upgrades with the minimal downtime so that you can really get to the latest, most secure systems.
All right, and last question here. Can I upgrade Scada servers without upgrading clients?
So that depends. So generally, you do need to update both the clients and the servers. Generally, what we suggest is updating clients first and then the servers. And Robert, Steve, I think you guys are more experts in this area than I am, so I'll let you dig in more onto this question. But there's key things when it comes to even like communication, where you do want to update the clients and the servers when it comes to like secure access as well. But I will let Steve and Robert jump into that one as well.
Robert, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll grab that. And I kind of said at the beginning, Steve and I and Rambir have over 60 years of experience in industrial software, and we do have that pedigree, but we have really smart guys on our teams. Steve and I both have a great technical staff that knows the interoperability issues with all of the versions. And as Rambir pointed out, it's there's some either ors in there. It's not a fixed answer of yes or no. So I'd invite anybody that is interested in upgrading from any of the versions of iFIX to start by calling us. Let's get one of our SAs on the phone, have a look at what your system entails, because not all systems are created equal, and we'll help you come up with a plan for an upgrade that'll get you from A to B, the shortest route with the fewest pain, or with the smallest pain. So that's my advice.
Yeah, great comments, Robert. Rachel, was there another question?
We have one more question. We have actually a lot more questions, but just so we have a couple minutes to get to our wine today, we're going to ask this last question. And then if lots of great questions coming in, so if we don't get to yours during this live Q&A, one of our presenters will reach out to you with an answer. But Nicholas asked, he said, not sure if this is the correct place to ask this, but for the Ops Hub, is it a one-way push from the Scada LAN segment to the hub? If so, then the Scada segment is touching the internet, question mark?
So it's not a one-way push. So you actually can write back down as well. And the way we have been designing and architecting Operations Hub is you can have more than one hub. So it can be a system of systems. Because we do know and recognize, especially as we look at future ways that the customers want to deploy. In some cases, you might want to, over time, as you get more comfortable with the cloud, is have primary be cloud and then fail over to within on-premise, for example. And so it is both read and write. We do support things like HTTPS to have secure communication and also OPC UA, but we do support two-way communication. And Nick, again, depending on your scenario and what you're trying to do, reach out to us. I would love to hear more about it, and we can really help you make sure that you have a robust sound architecture to be able to deliver successfully and securely.
Great. Well, thanks, Ranbir. Thanks, Steve and Robert. It looks like before our wine tasting, there are some upcoming events here. So definitely be sure to make yourself aware of these events. Robert, is there anywhere that, or Ranbir, Steve, anywhere attendees can go to register for these upcoming events?
Yeah, so great question. So one, we'll be listing the stuff up on our websites for customers to go and register for these events. So stay tuned on that. Hey, I would say, Rachel, one thing before, just to add some clarity, any of the questions that we had, we will document. We'll try to get back to you as fast as we can in the next several days with answers. So that's number one. Number two, on the high availability, we got some comments that we should have gone a little bit more technical, and we'll make sure we do that in the up and coming sessions. So thank you for that feedback. It's always trying to balance things in terms of high level and deep dive. So we'll go a little bit more technical on our next round. So thanks for that feedback. And then Rachel, I just want to say to everyone out there, many, many thanks for everyone's time this afternoon. We hope it was well spent. And Rachel, with that, why don't you lead us through some cool things on sampling some vino?
All right. Well, thanks so much, Steve. Thanks, Ranbir and Robert. And again, thanks to you for tuning in. We have a couple minutes to talk about wine. Maybe some of you have received yours already. If you registered maybe last minute or live out of country, it might be on the way to you, but no fear. I'm going to give you some ideas about what you can cook to pair with your wine and vice versa once you do receive that bottle. I have poured myself a glass already. I'm not sure if any of you are feeling the effects of this AWS outage, but my company is. We've been down all day, so I definitely could use a glass. And this is what I'm drinking. Let me turn it the correct way. It's a Chateau de Beaucastel, Chateauneuf du Pape. And I know we have a lot of French speakers in the audience today, so please forgive my pronunciation if I butchered that. But that's the wine that you will also be receiving if it is available around you. It might be a different producer or a different vintage. I'm drinking a 2018, so it's just dependent on what is available, but you will be drinking a Chateauneuf du Pape. So what is Chateauneuf du Pape? To kind of just give you the basics of the wine, it's first of all a wine that is very much so steeped in history and tradition. A lot of the producers from this region have been producing wine since the 1200s and before. So this wine comes out of the Southern Rhone Valley in France. So of course, according to Old World wine law, they label by region rather than grape varietal. So they label by Chateauneuf du Pape, which is the region that is controlled where they tell you what kind of grapes you can grow and how you can produce your wine. So again, it's in the Southern Rhone Valley, and the kind of grapes that are used in this wine, it can be up to 13 grapes that can be blended to make Chateauneuf du Pape. 13 grapes officially. Unofficially, there are 20 different grapes that are native to this region that can be blended into a Chateauneuf du Pape wine. It is called Chateauneuf du Pape because at one time this region was the seat of the Pope. In the 1200s, I believe, for a brief period of time, the seat of the Pope was located in this area. So on many of the bottles, you're going to see this papal insignia. So you have the keys, a rope, a crown, some combination thereof, and that comes from an homage to the period of time when the seat of the Pope was in the Southern Rhone Valley, and Chateauneuf du Pape means new house of the Pope, literally. So that's where the name comes from. The blend of grapes, as I mentioned, you have up to 13 officially, but really kind of the star of the show when it comes to Chateauneuf du Pape is Grenache. So Grenache is going to be kind of the anchor of the blend. You can think GSM blend, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. So in addition to Grenache, a couple of the other major grapes in this wine are Syrah and Mourvedre, with, up to 17 more blended in there. Chateauneuf du Pape is kind of known as being the gateway drug to French wine, right? So if you really love New World wines because you like fruit, ripe, juicy fruit, maybe sometimes Old World wines aren't quite as approachable. So when I say New World, I'm talking, California, South America, where you have really full-bodied, fruit-forward, plummy wines. And then Old World wines where you get a bit more of what the French call terroir, right? So that, kind of earthy note, like what they sometimes call barnyard, which is not always appealing. But those are kind of the more nuanced, earthy flavors that you'll get from an Old World wine. So Chateauneuf du Pape is the gateway drug because it leads with all of that plummy, juicy red fruit, but it does have a lot of complexity that kind of follows that fruit. So we're going to taste through it quickly, and I'm going to just give you my brief tasting notes. And, again, if you have any feedback, would love to see it in the Q&A. Max said LOL Barnyard, and yes, it's a really, when I went to wine tasting school, culinary school, and sitting there with people tasting through these wines, it was a common taste or smell that would come up during wine tastings. A lot of people say they like it. So I poured about 2 ounces in my blurry glass there, you can see, which is kind of the proper amount for wine tasting. I go ahead and I swirl my glass, which just releases all of those esters in the glass. I can see that this wine actually stains my glass. So the tears that are falling are, inky purple. They're falling kind of more slowly. That tells me the staining of the glass, as well as the way that those tears are falling, that this wine is high in alcohol. And Chateauneuf du Pape is high in alcohol in compared with other French reds. So mine says 14.5%. They're allowed half a point in variation, so it could be up to 15%. On the nose, it absolutely leads with that bright fruit. I smell a lot of raspberries, plumminess, just a lot of fruit right off the nose. There's also a lot of black fruit. So blackberry, blueberry, lots of berries right off the bat. There's definitely an herbaceousness to it. So think sage, rosemary, a little bit of leather. It's definitely complex, but it's approachable. So I'm going to take a sip and just talk about the structure for just a minute. So when I take a sip, again, I can confirm it really leads with that fruit right off the bat. Super juicy fruit, red, blue, and black. definitely an herbaceous note, kind of like a dry tobacco note there as well, and leather. But it's really, you know, a well-balanced, complex wine. Now, when I took that sip, the first thing I felt was the alcohol in the back of my throat. I tend to be a bit more sensitive to higher alcohol wines. So for something like this, I can just feel it a bit more when I'm drinking it and it stands out to me. I would recommend serving it with a bit of a chill to it to kind of take the bite off of it. So 60 to 65 degrees. I would decant it if it's a younger bottle of Chateauneuf, which most of us are receiving. I would decant it for up to an hour before you plan on serving it. These wines are incredibly long-lived. I worked at a steakhouse in Tampa, Florida, which is where I live, called Burns Steakhouse. It's world famous for its wine collection because of their aged wines, and I was a sommelier there, and I had a wine, a Chateauneuf de Pape, Chateau Reyes from 1960, I want to say it was 1969, and that just goes to show you how long these wines can live if aged properly. So if stored correctly, they can be incredibly long-lived. They're just amazing wines. I would recommend, you know, pairing this with something at your holiday meal if you plan on having one. I'm making beef Wellington. It's what I make for Christmas every year, and this would go very well with a beef Wellington. It's not super full-bodied, but it has those, it's more medium-bodied. It has those earthy notes that are going to pair really nicely with the mushroom duxelle, as well as all of the different spices in that Wellington. It has some soft tannins and a really surprisingly high level of acidity for this particular wine. And tannins and acidity just kind of act as a palate cleanser and make you ready for that next bite. You could pair it with really anything that you're going to add a lot of spices to. So think like stewed vegetables, lamb, Moroccan lamb is really a great pairing with it. It's a red that I actually enjoy without food. I don't think it needs food, and I typically feel that most red wines do need food, but I think this is really just such a nice, easy drinking, medium-bodied red that you can enjoy it without food as well. So I hope you enjoy it. If you haven't received it already, make sure you're checking your email for that link to schedule your delivery. If it's via Drizzly, if it's via wine.com, you do have to be home to sign for it because it is alcohol, but you can always email me with any wine questions. I'm going to just send my email out to the audience right now. I'm down today because of this outage, but I will hopefully be back later today, and email me with any wine questions you might have, and I will look in on your delivery. But I hope you enjoyed our event today. I want to thank all of our presenters, Ranbir, Robert, and Steve, for hosting this event. Be sure to check out those events that are upcoming. I'm sure you're going to receive a follow-up email. Also, check out our website, Tech Talk Summits, for all of our upcoming events. We're going to have more from this group listed on our website soon as well, so keep an eye out. But thanks to our presenters, and thanks to you for joining us today. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ranbir.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Robert. Have a good day. Thanks, Steve.
You bet. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel.
Nice job, Rob.